and maintenance low. With over 30 years in commercial leasing in Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas, we have learned exactly what our customers require.
Heartland, the power of proven results.
Managed on Christian principles with a strong dedication to community benevolence. Whether you need 1,000 or 10,000 square foot of office space, Hartman has that space in one of nearly 50 Texas locations.
Heartland, the power of proven results.
Energy-efficient buildings, customer-friendly experts, supporters of conservative causes. A Texas-owned and operated business for 30 years. A proud corporate sponsor of RagingElephantRadio.com.
Hartman, the power of proven results.
Visit Hartman online, hi-REIT.com. Call 800-880-2212 or click the ad on RagingElephantRadio.com.
Doc says all the best words start with P. Prudence is a good word. Airlines will always say, put your own mask on first, then help your loved ones. Prudence means making sure that your family food supply is secure. Most stores have at best a 72-hour supply of food, and if something goes wrong, resupply will not happen quickly. You should have at least a 90-day supply of your favorites because it will allow you to weather the worst crisis and make plans for the future. The answer is newmanna.com. NUMANNA. New Manna is not just food storage, but really tasty food that you will enjoy eating. New Manna food is designed to last for 25 years, but many people enjoy it several times a week. Now is the time to lay in a supply of tasty New Manna food for your family. Be prepared and know your family is safe. Go to newmanna.com right now for fast delivery. That's newmanna.com.
You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Live from Houston, Texas, a man who calls it like he sees it, without the normal political correctness you may have grown comfortable with. It's time for the Texas Perspective on current news and events. This show is not for the faint of heart or easily offended. Clear your desk, get your number 2 pencil ready. The Inquisition is about to begin. If you have questions, please refer them to the chat room and make them good.
Go ahead, make my day.
The doctor is in, and he will see you now.
Well, I guess we better get on with it.
And welcome to the show, everybody. Glad to have all of you here. And, of course, we're broadcasting live from Houston, Texas. And it's a splendid day outside, just absolutely lovely out there on a Wednesday. And one of the things that we like to talk about here, guys, is guns. We do. So I decided to get a genuine gun runner to talk to us on the show today. And so welcome to the show.
Hello?
Hello, John. Yes.
No, this is Hal Shurtleff.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Camp Constitution.
All right, Hal Shurtleff. Sorry, I got my days mixed up. Welcome to the
right.
show, Hal Shurtleff. And what we're going to talk about is Christian flags and the city of Boston, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, thanks for having me.
Sorry for the wrong introduction. I didn't get the word past exactly who I did have on the line, but yes, you're supposed to be here today. And Hal Shurtleff, what is your website?
It's campconstitution.net.
Okay, I'm getting that up now for everybody else out there. And of course, campconstitution.net. That would imply that there is actually a camp.
Yes, we actually run a week-long family camp, and we have every intention of running it this year from July 19th to the 24th in beautiful Plainfield, New Hampshire, about 1 hour north of Concord. And like every year, we have a wonderful lineup of instructors and lots of fun, wholesome fun for the whole families, for unaccompanied minors, and even unaccompanied adults. We have Lord Christopher Monckton is one of our instructors. Professor Willie Soon, who's one of the top climate realists in the world, not just in the area. He comes with his whole family. We have C.J. Pearson from Atlanta. He's a young black outspoken conservative.
I know that
He'll be
guy.
there.
Yeah, really like him.
He's great. And Alex Newman. Alex is an author, a journalist, and he is also a teacher. He teaches at Freedom Project Academy, and he's out of Florida. He'll be driving up with his family. And the rates are very, very reasonable. Since we're a not a nonprofit, but a charitable trust. So you visit our website, campconstitution.net, and you'll be able to find out all the information about the camp. Also, for those of you who are either homeschooling or teaching, we have the Samuel Blumenfeld archive. The late Sam Blumenfeld was a pioneer in the modern homeschool movement, and I inherited his papers, his library, his recordings, and thanks to some of our talented people, volunteers, we were able to PDF a lot of his material, take his cassettes and turn them into MP4s and MP3s, and turn his old videos into MP4s and make it available. We have his alpha phonics. You can teach people how to read using our website, and it's all free of charge. So,
wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And, of course, we have a lot of homeschoolers that listen to this show, so that is great information for you guys.
Yeah, man, we've noticed a good increase in viewers just in the last couple of weeks. I think more people are looking for things, having a little more time. So they're they're going online. And we actually had a professor from New Hampshire, just over the border here, want to use the alpha phonics. She said, I teach foreign students, and this is the best thing. We had a teacher in South Africa got a hold of us, and she said she had 17 or 18 students that were special needs. They had no progress in 2 years. She said in 2 weeks with the alpha phonics, they all but two of them showed incredible results. So simple, back to basics, alpha phonics, and that's what made our nation the greatest nation in the world, because we were good readers and thinkers. And as you know, since the era of John Dewey, we got away from that with this crazy look-say method of reading, causing all kinds of functional illiterates, and also reading and dyslexia. So Sam Blumenfeld did a lot of research on that subject. So all that information is up on the website. If you go to campconstitution.net, you'll see a drop-down that will say Blumenfeld Archives, and you go to that. And all we ask for is a username and an email, and it's a great resource.
Well, I appreciate that. Of course, I see Diana Ploss has logged into the chat room under.
Oh, that troublemaker! I don't know why you have her on.
Under her nom de plume and
nom de guerre.
Yeah, yes, her war name, and of course my good buddy Randy's in there, and Kathy Burkett from up in Dallas, and Robert Litton, our truck driving friend. We have no idea where he may be on any given time. So glad to have all of you guys on the show, but. I've got the website up. You can see it there, campconstitution.net. And there's your Sam Blumenfeld archive, so you can log into that. But these are all things that are very, very important. The homeschool movement is very important. This is one of the things that I am saying might be a good thing that came out of this.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Everybody today, if your child was in a school, you are now homeschooling. And hopefully some of the parents will realize that maybe what they're getting in these government schools is not so good. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's interesting, too, these environmentalists who want to be so sustainable. Well, there's nothing sustainable about putting a child on a big old yellow school bus, going across town, burning up all kinds of carbon, putting holes on the ozone and the big footprint. And then you go and put yourself in this huge, unsustainable building. Stay at home, And today, there really isn't too many excuses. It used to be. We started homeschooling in the 90s. It was a little more challenging, but now with the technology, you can get fully accredited online courses. Freedom Project Academy, for example, interactive, fully accredited K-12. There's many, many others, and our website. We have a YouTube channel. And you can get a link to our channel from the website. We have our playlist from our camps over the last 7 or 8 years. So we have history, we have civics, we have science, and we also even have programs for young people. History, science, and of course, civics, all kinds of information. And we have some great instructors over the years, Tom DeWeese, Chris Ann Hall, Debbie Bacigalupi, Willie Submy, they just go on and on. Duke Pesta was there for a couple of years ago, giving a couple of great classes there. So wonderful resources.
Well, those are all friends, and a lot of those people have been on the show.
Have they? Good people. Yeah.
So we have a similar circle of friends here. Robert Litton said he's driving from Houston to Louisiana right now.
Wow.
So we have a lot of truck drivers that listen to the show. Well, Hal Shurtleff, the main reason we wanted to have you on is because you did something that a lot of people would consider absolutely unpardonable, and it created quite a firestorm. Would you like to detail that to us?
I would, yes. Well, back in November, it was June of 2017, an inner city pastor, Bruce Wall, had invited me to a prayer meeting at the mayor of Boston, Marty Walsh's office. Now, Walsh had nothing to do with it. It was more like his ante-room. He was out, nowhere to be found. And there was people, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, praying, no political movement, just to pray for the city as the Bible, pray for the leaders as the Bible tells us to. And I thought, I said, Christians need to be more active.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied to have a permit of raise the Christian flag. And it's a very simple flag. It's white with the blue, the left corner, what do you call that? I guess I have a mental block, with a red cross, the Latin cross.
Mm-hmm.
And it was designed back in the late 1890s, of all places, Brooklyn. So two good things come out of Brooklyn, right? The hot dog and the Nathan's famous and the Christian flag. So now the city of Boston has what I refer to as a public access flagpole. And right in front of their city hall, they have a flagpole flies the U.S. flag, the flag of Boston, and the flag of Massachusetts. And the fourth pole is either on a special occasion, but local or private organizations can apply. And on their website, they said, we want to accommodate everybody, we want to be diverse, and so forth and so on. And they've flown. We actually flew the Gadsden flag about 6 or 7 years ago. It was great because we had the Patriot pastor, Garrett Lear, dressed up in colonial attire. He's 6'7", and he had his firing musket with him, and nobody messed with him. It was a great time. No trouble. But so I applied. In fact, I got a hold of the lady in charge of the permitting who was sympathetic. And it took a while, and, I thought the runaround, not from her, but from her people that she works for.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, about a month later, it was probably early September of 17, they said that separation of church and state, we can't allow this. I thought, yeah, and the lady said, this isn't over. I said, you better believe it's not over. And you can fight City Hall when you're right, when the cause is just. So I sent out a news release to the local media, and nobody picked it up. But a friend of mine got a hold of me, and she said, Hal, get a hold of Liberty Counsel. So I went right online, got right to their website. They're based in Florida. They take cases like this pro bono. And I explained to them what the case was. Within less than a day, they got a hold of me and said, we're taking your case if you want us to. And they sent out a demand letter saying 30 days, we got to give us. And by the way, the purpose of raising the flag, we were going to have a ceremony where we would have one of our instructors, Reverend Stevie Kraft, talk about the need for racial reconciliation. Number two, we were going to have another one of our instructors who used to be from the South Sudan, talk about the blessings of liberty he's had as a U.S. citizen. And then a third instructor or a friend was going to teach about Boston's rich Christian history since the city sat on a hill, governed by John Winthrop in 1629, 1630, up until today. And then we would have raised the flag. And it would have been there a day or two at the most, and that would have been it. So so I asked for an official reply. So they sent me an email and said separation of church and state. In the email was the city seal, which is embedded in every email. Mm-hmm. And from the seal is a Bible verse, and they're from 1 Kings. May God favor us as he favored our forefathers. It's also on the city flag. So here you have a Bible verse, yet he's trying to tell me, that it's somehow flying a flag at a public access flagpole is considered separation of church and state. Many people have a misunderstanding of that First Amendment. That is not in the First Amendment.
You're right.
The First Amendment simply says that Congress cannot establish a religion, nor deny the free exercise thereof. So, in other words, Congress can't determine the Catholic Church will be the official church of the country, or the Baptist Church, or the Pentecostal Church, or whatever. At the time of the First Amendment passing, there were a number of states that had state churches, and that amendment had no bearing on the status. Massachusetts didn't do away with its state church until the 1820s, late 1820s, with no help from the ACLU, by the way, which didn't exist until 100 years later. It just was, hey, this is probably not a good thing. Sometimes we did adopt some of the bad habits from a lot of good habits, but some bad habits too from our from Europe when we came over here. So anyway, Liberty Counsel took the case. The city, it made national news right away, TV, radio, and then there was lots of media coverage, WorldNet Daily, and many other online outlets, a lot of Christian outlets. And we filed the case a year later officially. Things move a little slow, and we had a first hearing in July. Actually, in August, the camp was going on. We had to drive 3 hours to get to the courthouse. And the judge, who was an Obama appointee, ruled against us. It was appealed. We had several appeals, and we had a new suit with much more information in the last lawsuit in July. The city of Boston has had dozens, I think a couple of hundred flag-raising events since 2005. Many of them are the same groups. And some of the flags they raise include the communist flag of China. And what makes it worse is not only do they raise the flag, now this isn't the city officially raising it, it's a pro-communist Chinese group, the progressive, the Chinese Progressive Association of Boston. It's a pro-communist organization. But city officials participate in the event, and they even, one year they passed a resolution praising the communist revolution that killed, 40 to who knows millions of people. And they also fly the flag of Cuba, which last time I checked is a communist country. They fly flags with the Turkish flag, which has the crest, the Muslim crest on it. And they fly the rainbow flag. I say the rainbow flag is a flag that they fly it in June because of the riot that took place in Lower Manhattan, the anti-police at a mob-owned bar. And then the transgender flag, which is a relatively new flag. So these flags are okay. But then the city turned around and they said that it's not accepted speech. They consider a flag on a pole speech. And they don't accept the speech of the Christian community. But they accept the speech of the other groups that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
So we think we're going to win the case. It's right now. It's in the First Court of Appeals in Boston, Federal Court of Appeals. Our Liberty Counsel is determined to take it all the way to the Supreme Court, and I think that's where we may prevail. And I think the problem is a lot of Christians, they around the country, they take no for an answer. They actually believe this stuff about separation of church and state. Although I've got mostly favorable response around the country. We did get some Christians. If they raise the Christian flag, they're going to put the satanic flag or the Muslim flag. I said, well, they already are. You don't tell me that Chinese communist flag represents Satanism. It's pretty evil what they do to their people.
Indeed.
And I also think we're sending a message around the country, that, hey, brothers and sisters in the Lord, you have a responsibility to stand up and take back that city that was taken over so many years ago by the left, by the secular or the atheist left. And to empower, but also to, as an organization that promotes the Constitution, we had to do this. It's not like what can you do about it? We'll just do our thing. It's important to show people we take it serious.
Well, I agree with you. We have to stand up for what we know is the truth, what we know is correct, and I think frequently we just don't do that. So I appreciate that you're doing this. I'm even more happy that you were able to get a legal foundation to stand behind this, because so often it's difficult to do that.
Well, of course, we're a low, shoestring budget. I'm the only full-time person. I tell people I get paid weekly, WEAKLY, but it's a labor of love. But a lot of Liberty Counsel offers their services pro bono, and I recommend people. Liberty Counsel, I think, just go to online, libertycounsel.org. I think it's LC.org. They do great work, and they're wonderful people. And they've been, Matt Staver is the founder, and very active. And they're not a huge organization either. And right now they're defending the lady in California, Planned Parenthood, that's being sued by Planned Parenthood. I can't remember her name. She's a grandmother. And they took the case in Tampa, the pastor who was arrested for gas bars holding a service recently.
Mm-hmm.
So they mean business, and they'll take. And the reason why they took this case, they told me that there are three criteria. The first one is it winnable? The second one, will it set a precedent? And the third one is the organization or individual representing credible. So I think we meet all three categories.
Well, I appreciate that. Now I see Brandon Hewitt and Mark Chavez. They're over there at the Alamo today, trying to keep an eye on the cenotaph, because our General Land Office Commissioner has set about trying to destroy Alamo Plaza to make it more palatable to the United Nations. So
this would be Agenda 21, Agenda 21, 2030 problems.
I think this is more Agenda $415 million that we get to split. I think that's more like it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But no, since the United Nations took over the Alamo here, they've been going out of their way to destroy all of the history there and to get rid of any references to the 1836 battle for independence, because it depicts Mexicans in a bad light, so they say. But anyway, to answer Mark Chavez's question, yes, it's okay if you listen, as long as you have a boombox and you've got it turned up very loud so that anyone within 100 feet of you can listen as well. So share.
Well, you know what's interesting, and you know your Texas history better than I am, sure, but Texas, the Mexicans that were living in Texas almost completely supported the independence movement. And when they had complete citizenship, and Santa Anna, if anyone was a racist, he said that Mexican people are not worthy of freedom. I mean, that's the kind of contempt he held his own people in.
Yeah.
So if people just knew this, instead of all this politically correct, baloney that they get, and if you hear something so long, you just assume it's true. Historically, there's a lot of people who've been maligned. And people like Joe McCarthy, mention his name, and oh wow, okay, well he was an anti-communist, but he destroyed thousands of people's lives. It says, well, can you name one?
Yeah, but he was right.
Well, we have every year we have camp T-shirts. We do a different theme, and one year we had a picture of George Washington that said "Miss me yet," and then we had Joe McCarthy, and he says, "I told you so."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think one of the big shirts around here is Pinochet did nothing wrong. And I think maybe we need to get a McCarthy shirt that said McCarthy did nothing wrong.
Well, and we actually have if you go to our website or YouTube channel and put in Camp Constitution Joe McCarthy, we had an instructor, John McManus, and he gave a good little class on the truth about Joe McCarthy. There was another. We have a learning center in Lexington, Massachusetts, and for those of you who may not be familiar, Lexington is where the shot heard around the world. We're just a few blocks away from Lexington Green.
And why was the shot fired? Because the Brits were coming to take the ammunition.
They were going to arrest John Adams and John Hancock. I'm sorry, Sam Adams, the cousin, and John Hancock, and take the powder. And when they marched onto the green, they didn't expect these ruffians to actually oppose them.
Ruffians.
And they ran off. That battle didn't last very long. It wasn't much of a battle. But then from Lexington, they marched the poor British. It was a hot day. Talk about climate change. It was a hot day in April. And they had to march through the wet. They were wet, and by the time they got to Concord, they didn't expect all the militia units around the area, and they beat them back from Concord all the way back to Boston, and they took pretty good casualties too.
Wow.
And I usually participate. I mean, I film or video the reenactment, and you'll see that on our YouTube channel. They do a really good job, and they do it. They start off at 5:30 in the morning, which means you got to get there at 4. It's all been canceled this year, but I'm going to be on the green about that time and just do a little narration. You know, just because it's just something I think something special. Like your Alamo is to Texans. Many people in Massachusetts, Lexington Green and Concord Bridge are places where we look at.
Well, I love that, and I
And
hope
by the way,
one
if
day
you're
to
ever in
get to go.
Boston, if you're ever in the area, we got a nice room for you and your wife or family members, just a few blocks away from the green at our learning. So it's a home that's going to be almost like a big living room with internet access, and we have a library. We'll have a couple of thousand books and audios and videos, and we'll be holding classes, and we'll be actually doing reading lessons for those who, for literacy classes and history, and we'll be taking tours of Lexington Green and what have you. So just contact us. If anyone listening who ever plans to be up here, love to do tours, show people around Boston. I'm right in the city, and Lexington is just 20 miles from west of Boston.
Well, I have never been. Brandon chimed in the chat room here, and he's over there at the Alamo today, keeping an eye on those guys. But I hope to make it up there one day because these are names that I know historically. I would just love to be able to see and touch the land there. But we're talking with Hal Shurtleff, and once again, what spawned this phone call was he did the unthinkable. He dared to try to raise the Christian flag in Boston, and it caused a firestorm.
Well, it's interesting. Mayor Walsh, he's the far left mayor. He believes in sanctuary cities, big supporter of abortion, open borders. Everything about him. Although he's born and raised in Dorchester, and which that generation, he's in his 40s, I think. They're not exactly the most liberal people in the world, but he just sold his soul. He had been a state rep, I believe, and was sort of a moderate, wasn't that crazy, but he just bought into it. Big Agenda 21 guy. But he said, I actually corralled him one time. He said that I'm a proud Catholic. My response was, there's not much evidence of that, is there?
Yeah.
He lives with he's unmarried, lives with an unmarried woman, and he once said that if Roe versus Wade is repealed, that Boston will be a sanctuary city for abortion. And when I challenged him on it, he sort of was very uncomfortable. And see,
Catholic
the media around
you
here,
are, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. So the media. Oh, he said that we can have our meeting, we can have our little rally on City Hall Plaza. That's fine, but you can't fly the flag because it's city speech. But the homosexual flag is okay. The transgender flag, not only that, but I was there to celebrate it. The communist Chinese flag is fine, and we passed resolutions supporting the. There was a city councilor there that last year when they had, and Diana was there too. Diana Ploss. We had a great time. There was more of us opposing it than there were there supporting it. But most of the folks on our side were Chinese students, Hong Kong. In fact, we saw some students wearing face masks, and it wasn't because of the virus. This was back in late September. They were worried that they would be photographed, and then their family members back in Hong Kong or China would suffer repercussions. I said, the communist Chinese have lots of influence in this country. They have bought cities. They bought and paid for certain politicians. That's why they're showing up. Why would a city councilor show up at a communist Chinese rally, knowing that a lot of people don't like the communist Chinese? A lot of Chinese don't like the communists. That's why they're here.
That's why they're here. I happen
to
have acquaintances in the Chinese Businessmen's Association here, and they came here because they couldn't stand communism, and they wanted liberty. They knew they could have a better life if somebody would just get out of the way and let them fill a niche, let them find a need and fill it. And they've come here and they've done very well.
They've done very well, exactly.
Yeah.
And the Chinatowns around the country, the Chinese people tend to be sort of self-policing. They're not as they reach out. So, but I have some friends in the Falun Gong movement, the folks who put out the Epoch Times.
Mm-hmm.
Epoch Times has come a long way, and they actually have the most recent issue. I found it in the porch of the house in Lexington. They did a great job on this coronavirus. They're saying it shouldn't be called the China virus. It should be called the Communist Party of China virus.
It's probably the only honest newspaper that exists in America today. And
well, at least at the national level.
Yes, at the national level.
Yeah.
And of course, I call it the Get Trump virus. I believe that's why they engineered it.
Get Trump virus, yeah.
Yeah, because the whole objective was to get Donald Trump. They tried to say Donald Trump was a Russian agent, and they tried to impeach him for a bad phone call, which wasn't a bad phone call. And so everything they've been working on for the last 4 years has utterly failed and mostly blew up in their faces because Donald Trump's approval numbers are higher than ever. So now we got this. They had to pull the trigger on this virus thing. They said, surely this will do it.
Well, it's interesting that Mayor Walsh and Nancy Pelosi, I think it was the Mayor de Blasio of New York and others, and I think they were getting their marching orders from the DNC. But it was back in February where some people were really concerned about the spread of the virus, and they were telling people, don't come to Chinatown. Don't be a racist. Come to Chinatown and what have you. And when Trump had stopped the travel, had the travel ban, that was an overreach. Donald Trump, you're a racist. Now, you were too late. All the deaths are on your hands. No. We have other documents. It wasn't that long ago. With this, when they talk about Russian collusion, I'm an old anti-commie going way back. I'm a Cold War. I was in the Army in the 70s. So I remember in the early 90s, during the Clinton administration, that the FBI opened up a branch in Moscow. In fact, I was going through cleaning up my barn full of materials just that I have a little more time, and I found an article from the Boston Globe. It said it was mentioning the fact that Russia and the United States now will share intelligence. I said, talk about Russian collusion, but back then, nobody seemed to be. The liberals didn't really care. They were so pro-communist. The liberals and the establishment Republicans. I remember you remember Gorbachev was doing Pizza Hut commercials. You remember that?
Yeah.
And Phil Graham, he was the former senator from Texas, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was inviting Gorbachev to speak at Republican gatherings, and that was okay. He had trouble with it. Then all of a sudden, this Boris Yeltsin is this terrible guy. He's the one that's controlling Trump. It was just so absurd. But, it's the mainstream media. And I think that lots of positive things will come out of this. I know we look at the economy tanking, a lot of bad things. Lots of people have died because of the virus. But you look at, for example, the plastic bag bans. In Texas, you guys fought it successfully, and it was overturned. You guys be commended.
Yes.
It was overturned using the Texas Constitution, not the U.S. Constitution. But we had the ban in Boston a year ago. They did it 2 days before the Tea Party. I said you should have added insult to injury and done it on the Tea Party, the day that December 16th. But during when this coronavirus was first, the early lockdown, the early social distancing, I posted information on some local gathering that said, one, will common sense prevail over emotionalism, and the plastic bag ban will be repealed. And it was repealed. And not only did they repeal it, they said that you cannot bring your reusable bag into the grocery stores. I went into a grocery store down the street from me with a shopping bag. I already had once got something from another place, and the lady said, "I can't even touch that." She said, "We can't even touch the bag." And then they said, "Now you can't even bring them in the store." I just hope that will remain, because they've said they bring germs and other problems.
Yeah.
So now they're on record as admitting that. So now they're going to have trouble bringing that ban back. And as I mentioned, the public schools and government schools have all been shut down. This will hopefully give parents, hey, maybe we can do this at home. I'm not going to suggest that there might be a gigantic amount of parents, but even 2 or 3% would be a major victory for us. Also, the concept of borders. What these leftists say, open borders, let them all in, we don't care, sanctuary cities. Well, one reason why they control the borders is to control the people coming in who may have communicable diseases. That makes sense. You have an obligation to protect your people. Not only are these lefty crazy governors, they're closing state borders. There was the Rhode Island governor. She had these two guys had walked from Massachusetts right over the border to go golfing, and they got arrested for golfing. You can't cross our border. It wasn't at that point. It wasn't a problem that they were golfing, but they came from another state to golf. You see, so now they believe in state sovereignty. You know, that's another dirty word, right? States' rights. You can't say that. That must mean you're a Confederate and you want to start a civil war. Well, so the concept of border controls is now, and also the notion of this. Oh, we're one big world, one big economy. Well, it's not such a great thing when you've outsourced 90% of your mask making abilities or all the other things. So I think now they're going to be. Maybe we should have so many restrictions on the local manufacturing. Maybe we should encourage that by giving them tax breaks and things of that nature, so we don't have to rely on China. You know, it's fascinating. The owner of the Boston New England Patriots, Robert Kraft, flew up the team plane to pick up 1 million masks from China to bring them to Boston. Yeah. Well, these masks they're discovering they're cheap. Most of them are unusable, and they're not. They have been. In other words, you put them on, and they're not hospital quality. So all this thing. Hey, we're gonna. China's our friend, and they're helping us out. They sell us bad. They sell us junk. They do. You know, and not only do they steal our technology, they come here and they harass people in various communities like Chinatown who oppose their agenda. They have factories that manufacture numismatic coins, counterfeit numismatic coins. They taint the food. They taint they're just not our friends. No. And we've been saying that many of us have been saying that for years. So that's another thing. Realize that no, China is not our friend. If they knew about this problem back in November, they had 8 doctors in Wuhan that said something about it, and they basically squashed them. They said they removed all of their postings, and they had to issue apologies. And I think one of them died. I think the first guy to blow the whistle passed away because of the coronavirus.
Well, of course, if we look at the numbers, almost nobody is going to die from this coronavirus. But on the other hand, I think it's a good time to celebrate Donald Trump, because if you believe the Centers for Disease Control and if you believe the World Health Organization, the World Health Organization, if you believe them, Donald Trump saved 2 million lives.
Well, it's interesting about WHO. We should get out of the UN completely. But another good thing is that Donald Trump just recently, was it yesterday, defunded WHO. We should get out of the UN altogether and all of their entities. We have no constitutional right to be there. And all of these, WHO, UNESCO.
Well, what I'd love to see Donald Trump do with the UN is said, okay, that's it. We're not going to pay you any money anymore. And furthermore, we expect you to pay the proper amount of rent on the piece of real estate that you have based upon the average rents of that type of real estate here in New York City.
Oh, there'll be a for sale sign on that or for lease sign there pretty quickly if they actually had to pay the taxes and the rent.
I know. It would be wonderful, wouldn't it? And then they could go to some country where, they do better, like Iraq. Yeah, I think
Iraq or communist China or Cuba. They'd be very welcome there.
Baghdad, though, I just think Baghdad would be perfect.
Oh, that'd be great. Baghdad would be a nice place, especially it's warm. They don't have the cold winters like they have in New York. That'd be a great place for them.
Yeah.
Well, we had years ago. There was this wonderful black lady, Julia Brown. She was speaking engagements around the country. She had been a former communist that came out of it, became a patriotic American, and I too have a dream speech. And she said that the United Nations building would be the international headquarters for the John Birch Society. I thought that was pretty funny.
I would love that. Of course, I'm a closet John Bircher, so we
yeah.
appreciate the John Birch Society. And if you guys don't know anything about that, don't believe the stuff you heard. Look it up for yourself. Do your own research. It's a wonderful bunch of people, and all of the people I know in the John Birch Society are fabulous individuals. So, and of course they also got a nice shout out by Leonard Skinner, if you remember back in the day. So one of
that may have been Charlie Daniels.
No, it was. I'm pretty sure it was Leonard Skinner. Yeah,
where he talks about a guy. He says, "Watching Boys," where he's a thoroughly dangerous man. He's an undercover agent for the FBI.
Oh yeah,
George Wallace.
Yeah, maybe that was Charlie Daniels. Yeah,
and he came. Yeah, he said he came back and said, "That's not so." He said, "I'm a faithful follower, Brother John Birch.
That's it.
Antioch Baptist
Baptist Church. That's right. That's the one I'm referring to.
Yeah, that's it. That was Charlie Daniels.
Yeah.
Skinner may have done a version of that too. I don't know, but I know.
No, I think it was Charlie Daniels. And Charlie Daniels, I got a chance to spend an hour with him one day, just me and my son and him. And he is, by the way, a great guy. He is everything that you hoped he was. So, in case you wondered about that.
I was at a county fair in Vermont some years ago, and he was, and this was not a huge fair, with hundreds of thousands of people. And he was scheduled to play, and the sheriff that was doing the detail, he was a big fan, and he would gladly escorted him around. He said nothing but nice things about him too. He said he's a real down to earth guy.
Just a genuine great individual. Of course, he, like myself, if we had a choice, we'd be playing music and we wouldn't be doing all this talk that we have to do. But we're losing America. That's why we both had to change our ideas and our attitudes about the way that we do these things, because nobody was speaking up. And so now we have to do that. And
the people, the musicians on the left and the business people on the left and the teachers, all the people on the left, they're always speaking up. And it's because most of us have not spoken up. And, there are things I'd rather be doing, but I do love teaching people about the Constitution. I do love, this is what I think what God put me on earth to do. I do enjoy, history and teaching people history and making it what we have available to people. And so I just, I can't imagine doing anything else. And I took a course when I was in the 5th grade in trumpet, and Louis Armstrong would not be in approval of what my playing ability. So,
well, although
we had some musicians in the family, I didn't get the gene, I guess.
I see Priscilla in the chat room. I think her husband's a trumpet player. So
really,
yeah, she'd appreciate that. Brandon said the shutdown has forced parents to do actual parenting. Now,
you know what? And that's another. I'm gonna have to make a list. Another good thing of this shutdown is that this distraction of spectator sports. Now, I like a good baseball game or a good once in a while, but we've become so obsessed with it, and it's the American male that has become so obsessed with sports. They'll know more. They can rattle off the starting lineup, what the salaries are, and their batting averages.
My son-in-law.
Yeah, ask them what the First Amendment means. They wouldn't have a clue.
But he could tell you what the batting lineup was for the 1964 Mets.
I can give you the 67 Red Sox. I don't know about the Mets, but I could do the 67 Red Sox better than I could do last year's Red Sox. I can't even remember last year's lineup. But yeah, and again, there's nothing wrong with a ball game, enjoying a game. I think that's smelling the roses, or going to an opera if you prefer opera, I love art museums, things like that. You can't do that now, but so now we have to reflect that maybe we get to know our children a little bit better. In some cases,
we need to do that.
Say, I know them too well; they're driving me crazy.
Well, I think it's about time that most of us, in fact, anyone listening to this show, let's quit the government babysitting program, the government indoctrination program that we know as public school. They don't teach your kids anything. The average person today graduates with a bachelor's degree from college, and they have what we used to call a 6th grade education. That's how bad it has become. And, you could take any 6th grader back in 1950, put them in a room with one of those college bachelor degree graduates, and they're going to best them in just about everything that's practical. So it's time to change.
As my late friend Sam Blumenfeld, he learned about the dumbing down of America back in the early 60s. when he was the editor of Gross and Dunlop, the people who give us the Hardy Drew and Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys.
I
He was
read all
one
of
of the
those.
editors.
I ran out of
And-
Hardy Boys, so I had to read all of Nancy Drew's.
Nancy Drew's too. So it was a friend of his, a New York attorney. His name was Watson Washburn. He was starting a reading organization, Reading Reform, and he asked Sam to be a member of his organization. And Sam said, "Why?" He said, "Reading is easy. You learn the vowel sounds, you learn the consonant sounds, you put the blends together, and bingo, you're a good reader."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "You need to read a book, Why Johnny Can't Read, by Rudolf Fleisch."
Mm-hmm.
Which published, I think, in '56. And Fleisch, by the way, was from Austria. He was actually a socialist, but he was an honorable guy. And Sam read the book, and it changed his life. Sam went well beyond Rudolf Fleisch. Rudolf Fleisch mentioned Dick and Jane readers and how Luxay was introduced in the 1930s, and all the schools were adopting it. But Sam went back to Horace Mann from the 1840s, the Prussian model. He went to Prussia, and not Sam. Sam was a World War II veteran, but Horace Mann went to Prussia in the 1840s, and he basically said, "I've seen the future." And he came over here, started this compulsory education movement. So states adopted this notion that children, by law, have to be in schools for so many days, so many hours, very arbitrary. And then John Dewey, in 1898, he wrote an essay called "The Education Fetish," where he said that we don't need highly literate society, and that's not our goal. And he said that we humanists have to use the classroom like a pastor, a minister uses the pulpit. So they're promoting humanism, and they've been doing this for many, many years. So they bring in evolution as a fact. They get rid of prayer in school. And it was gradual because it happened overnight. And they realized that too. Even in Orestes Brownson, who had changed his position, they said if they found out what we were trying to do, we would have been I'm paraphrasing, run out of town.
Yeah.
So I was so blessed to be a friend of Sam's and spent time, driving him to various events and sponsoring his engagements. So, and then he realized that I would have helped to carry the torch. So I was so blessed that he left me his papers and library, and we're now making this available to the whole world. And in fact, we get a lot of people from around the world that have a better appreciation of learning alphaphonics than many Americans.
Well,
And
I was
you can get
fortunate. I was born out in the backwoods in Wyoming. We didn't really have that many woods, a lot of prairie. And I went to a one-room schoolhouse until I was in the 8th grade.
Really?
And we had phonics. We had speed reading. We learned French. And, these are not sorts of things you think, when you got one teacher teaching 8 grades, 16 children. But we learned all of those things out there. And today, children don't learn these things.
Well, what they learn, first of all, if they do learn history, it's a very anti-American version of history. They have these things called Model UNs, for example. And I will challenge any of these Model UN students to say if they actually learned who wrote the UN Charter, that it was written by a Soviet agent and a Russian communist national, a Stalinist, a man who worked for Stalin, and Alger Hiss, who was a Soviet agent, a willing enemy of our country. Mm-hmm. They wrote the UN Charter, and I use this rhetorical question: what good can come from the pen of a Soviet agent? You tell me what can come out of this. And most people don't know that. Most people, it's interesting that according to Dr. Duke Pesta, that the most widely read book in college universities is the Communist Manifesto. Now, we taught classes on it to expose it for what it is.
Well, I think what you should do, I think everyone should read the Communist Manifesto, and then you should read the Constitution, and then you should decide what form of government we have here in America.
Well, Karl Marx, in the manifesto, before the 10 planks, he said that communism abolishes all eternal truths. So that, to me, is satanic when you're abolishing eternal truths. There was some evidence that Marx may have been a formal Satanist. It was a book written by Pastor Rumbrand, Marx and Satan, which I recommend. But whether or not he was a practicing Satanist or he was a humanist or whatever, just to make that statement. And the 10 planks, people will say, "Oh, America, we're free. We could just." Well, look at the 10 planks and look what we have in our country.
Yeah.
Plank number 1 is abolition of property. Well, we still have some property rights, so rights to own property, but Agenda 21 will end that. And I like number 2, a progressive income tax. Well, guess what? We got that with the 16th Amendment. At the same time, we got another plank called the abolition of inheritance. Well, we don't have that completely, but we've got the inheritance tax. So gradual. And Karl Marx believed in free education for all. Well, see, it doesn't sound very noble of him, but who's teaching? Never mind who's teaching?
Yeah. What are you going to teach in that free education? That's why I'm advocate for all of you.
We call him Bolshevik Bernie Sanders. He believes that free education, that's because you want, they're saying basically if we haven't got your child's mind by college, we will get them by that time they leave college. And again, I'm referring back to Duke Pesta. He said that when the young Christians come into the state colleges, he said 80% of them will change, will switch over, will lose their faith. And he said nothing makes these college professors happier than to destroy the faith of a young Christian.
This is absolute truth.
And so why, Christians, do you put your child? What that school, and some of these private schools are even worse. So what that school was a generation or 2 generations ago is no longer the school. There may be some exceptions. One of my girls goes to Liberty, and we're very pleased that she's going to school in nursing, and they've maintained their Christian integrity. And there's some other good schools, most of them small enrollments, but
not many.
Not many, but there are some, and also the online. It's just a phenomenon, this online, because again, you don't need to have a big building and drive across town to learn something. You can learn right in your home. And this notion that homeschoolers are all a bunch of introverts, that's not true, because they have homeschool support groups, almost every community, field trips, the homeschool conventions. Unfortunately, 2 of the conventions that we have at tables have already been canceled, and then the one in Pennsylvania has been rescheduled to October, which we still plan to attend. But there's just so much out there for parents. And you don't have to have a doctor's degree in each subject to teach your children, because you have other people who have doctor's degrees that could do it for short money, too. We're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what's great, too, is the parents learn. I mean, we found so many parents that said, I never was taught this. They'll get a Becker book on history. So I never was taught this.
That's what happens when I teach Bible studies to Catholics.
Well, there are a lot of Protestants who I get the Babylon Bee, and they said that most Protestants, it was a spoof, but I say most evangelicals get the theology from bumper stickers.
Well, I love the Babylon Bee, and I recommend it to everyone. The Babylon Bee is a much better journal than, let's say, U.S. Today or the New York Times.
Well, I tell you
you'll
what,
find more truth there.
What's fascinating is that you read a story and say it actually sounds credible. I think one of the first ones I remember reading and thought it was true. It said that Bernie Sanders complains that he's asking people to stop sending him the book or The Road to Serfdom. I've got 2,000 copies. Oh, wait a minute. I was going to say, Bernie, I'll be happy to take them off your hands.
Yeah, by Hayek. Yeah, great book. In fact, it's on my nightstand even as we speak. So,
oh, really? That's great. Yeah.
So anyway, guys, we're talking with Hal Shurtleff. You're out of Boston, right?
Right in the city, yeah.
Right in the city of Boston. And, of course, we had him on today. We wanted to talk about Camp Constitution, and I've got it up there. You guys can see that, campconstitution.net. You guys should look into that. Send your kids. Take yourself.
Or come yourself. Yeah, get a road trip. And by the way, if you're flying in, or taking a train or a bus, we'll pick you up at the train stations, bus stations, and we'll drop you off on the way back. You probably don't want to be dropped off because you have such a good time. You'd want to stay.
Well, Kathy said Boston has the best seafood and the largest pizzas. So who wants to go on a road trip?
Oh yeah, we got good seafood. And again, that offer's on the table. Contact me through our. We also have a Facebook page. I'll be happy to, if you're ever in Boston, to show you around the city. If I'm around, I'll make the time to give you a good, off the beaten trail.
What's the Facebook page?
It's Camp Constitution.
Okay.
And you can contact me right through the website. There's a little contact form. But if you're up in the area, we'd love to bring you to our learning center, and you can meet Reverend Steve and Edith, Mrs. Edith, who will be coming up here soon to manage it. And if you need a place to stay, just a few blocks away from the Green, there's an open invitation. All
right, guys, talking with Hal Shurtleff. And Hal, if people want to contact you, is the best way to do that through the Facebook page?
Facebook. I mean, I can give you my phone number. I know sometimes it's tough to write all this stuff down, but my email address is campconstitution1, the digit 1, @gmail.com. And I can go right to my Facebook page. You'll see Hal Shurtleff, and there's a picture of me with the late Dr. Mildred Jefferson, who was a native Texan, by the way, from Carthage. And you can just go to our website. There was a contact drop down. You can just put your information there, and I'll get the message.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking time to be on the show.
Well, thank you, Doc. I'm honored to be on.
And I want to thank Diana Ploss for introducing us. But there it is. I got it up on Facebook now, guys. You can see that, and it's a great thing. And Hal, let's do it again.
Absolutely. I'll give you updates as the case proceeds.
Yeah, we want to know about that. Once again, for those of you that joined late, Hal was the guy who wanted to put the Christian flag up on the community flagpole, and they're in Boston, and they just got all kind of upset about that. And so consequently, there's a lawsuit now. Now, if he wanted to put up the sexually confused flag, no problem with that. He put up the communist flag, no problem there. But you put up the Christian flag, now we got a problem. And this is what I tell everybody, Hal. You could talk about God all day long and not have an issue. But when you put a name on that God,
that's right.
And you call on the name of Jesus, or in Hebrew, Yeshua, now you're going to have a fight on your hands.
That's right. You better believe it. Yeah.
So, but we don't shy away from that here. And I thank you for being part of the show. Going to hit my break, and we're going to be right back on Right Side of the Mic. Like and share. And once again, we do have the Alamo Watch going on. We have it going on right now because we do not trust George P. Bush. And so we're watching it to see if they're going to start tearing down the cenotaph. Be right back on Right Side of the Mic.
Join us in the chat on YouTube and Facebook.
Hey, Barry the Music Man here for Tejas Smoke Depot. They have everything you need when it comes to smoke. Check out the 150 square foot walk-in humidor filled with a huge selection of fine cigars. Or give them a call at 830-990-1472 and order up what you want. Maybe you like to roll your own. They have it. Maybe you need a gift for a smoker in the family. How about a new pipe? They have a large selection, even a cross-section of great beers in stock. In a hurry, come by and use the drive-thru, located at 1639 West Highway 290 in Fredericksburg, Texas. Out of town? Visit them at the website, TejasSmokeDepot.com, or call 830-990-1472. That's 830-990-1472. It's smoking.
I'm Joe Dana. As your candidate for Harris County Sheriff, I bring 25 years experience in law enforcement. As a conservative, I am committed to lead and manage the office with integrity, transparency, and accountability. I will preserve and protect the Constitution and the laws of Texas. It's time to restore trust in the Sheriff's Office. Please follow our campaign at danaforsheriff.com. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Joe Biden promised Ukraine $1 billion if they fired the prosecutor investigating his son's company.
If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
But when President Trump asks Ukraine to investigate corruption, the Democrats want to impeach him, and their media lapdogs fall in line. They lost the election. Now they want to steal this one. Don't let them.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Hartman, the power of proven results.
One of the premier property management companies in Texas, providing below market rates with above market amenities and service. Hartman has owned and operated commercial office properties since 1983, offering premium office space at an affordable price by saving businesses a significant amount of money by keeping taxes, utilities, and maintenance low. With over 30 years in commercial leasing in Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas, we have learned exactly what our customers require.
Hartman, the power of proven results.
Managed on Christian principles with a strong dedication to community benevolence. Whether you need 1,000 or 10,000 square foot of office space, Hartman has that space in one of nearly 50 Texas locations.
Hartman, the power of proven results.
Energy efficient buildings, customer friendly experts, supporters of conservative causes. A Texas owned and operated business for 30 years. A proud corporate sponsor of RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Hartman, the power of proven results.
Visit Hartman online, hi-REIT.com. Call 800-880-2212 or click the ad on RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Doc says all the best words start with P. Prudence is a good word. Airlines will always say, put your own mask on first, then help your loved ones. Prudence means making sure that your family food supply is secure. Most stores have at best a 72-hour supply of food, and if something goes wrong, resupply will not happen quickly. You should have at least a 90-day supply of your favorites because it will allow you to weather the worst crisis and make plans for the future. The answer is newmanna.com. N-U-M-A-N-N-A. New Manna is not just food storage, but really tasty food that you will enjoy eating. New Manna food is designed to last for 25 years, but many people enjoy it several times a week. Now is the time to lay in a supply of tasty New Manna food for your family. Be prepared and know your family is safe. Go to newmanna.com right now for fast delivery. That's newmanna.com.
Please return to the Doc Green Show. This is Marvin the Martian. When you miss it, you make me very, very angry.
Quite a bit of presence.
Oh yeah, well now this is interesting, and I'm going to see if I can give you the video on this. But this just in for Brent McCain, and he works in Louisiana a lot. He is essential, one of the essential guys. Works in Louisiana, and this is what he's experiencing. So I'm going to bring this up for you, and hopefully you guys can get this.
Here.
So he's coming back from Louisiana. Then this is the checkpoint that we have DPS set up to make sure you're not bringing in any dread diseases from Louisiana. If you're not watching us on TV, you'll have to come back and catch it on YouTube later. The cops got their checkpoint set up there. Entering Texas from Louisiana on probably I-10, looks like. Brent says they're shutting down cell signals so that you can't.
Get all the picnic tables.
So you can't use your cell phone there.
Roped off.
Yeah, you can't sit at the picnic table and eat. If you're a truck driver, that's kind of a big deal. Checkpoint at I-10 coming in from Louisiana. Man, Brent's got more cameras than I do.
That's good.
Okay, I can't really hear you, but
I can hear you fine.
what brings you this way?
I'm going home.
Okay, where are you coming from?
That way?
Okay, where's that way?
Well, what other highway goes that way?
What state are you coming from?
Confusion.
The one over that way.
Louisiana?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how long are you in Louisiana?
Oh, good bit. For 2 weeks.
2 weeks? You working or?
Yep.
Okay, what kind of work you do?
Oil work.
Oil work?
Yep.
All right. So you live out here in Texas?
I do.
Okay. Are you still working, or are you laid off, or you going back to work?
Going home.
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Robert says, as a truck driver, I like it. Now, y'all know what we have to go through every time we have to stop at a weigh station. I'm sure that's it. So, get to see what that's like. But I hate the loss of the freedoms that we are experiencing throughout this, and it's not an accident. This is a normal thing. Brandon said the Texas Historical Commission has a hearing going on today. You can call in and speak. This is not about the cenotaph. It has to do with the inside of the Alamo and some of the excavating they're doing there. And the phone number is, and this is in the chat room, if you want to go to the right side of the mic chat page, 844-721-7214. 844-721-7214. And that's the number to call if you want to be part of that. So, all right. Thank you. Got my coffee now in my Machine Gun Preacher coffee mug. He's going to be on the show again here pretty soon, coming back to Houston. So, yeah, Brandon, that way. Where are you coming from? I'm coming from that way. So I just wanted you guys to see what's going on over there. Now, give you an update. Tomorrow, which is Thursday, I will be broadcasting live from 1010 Colorado Street. 1010 Colorado Street in Austin. That's where I will be broadcasting tomorrow. Broadcasting live. We're having a big rally there at the governor's house. And we want to have a word with the governor and say, look, it's about time to reopen Texas. We've had enough of the crap. I've given you the numbers here. The numbers are infinitesimal. Infinitesimal. In fact, let me go ahead and give you the today's numbers here based on the Centers for Disease Control, a thoroughly politicized and relatively unreliable organization. As of today in the United States, we have 579 cases, either diagnosed or misdiagnosed. 579,000 cases, diagnosed or misdiagnosed, divided by the legal population of the United States. I'm not counting the 65 million illegal aliens that currently live here. As of today, the number's way up, guys. As of today, 0.01% of Americans have been either diagnosed or misdiagnosed since this thing started a month ago. So we have 0.1% of Americans that have been diagnosed or misdiagnosed with the virus. 0.1%. So, excuse me, actually that'd be 100th of 1% because it's 0.01. Yeah, that'd be 100th of 1%. 100th of 1% of Americans have been either diagnosed or misdiagnosed with this virus. Out of the 579,000 cases, 90% of them have already recovered. So there's only just a few left. Now, how many people have died, though? See, that's a much different number there. So we got 22,000 deaths, right? divided by the legal population of the United States. So far, 0.00006% of Americans have died of this. That's tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000. 100,000 of a percent of Americans have died from this terrible disease. 100,000th of a percent. 0.00006. And we've shut down the entire nation for this. Makes no sense to me at all. And let's take a look at Texas. Because this is why we're going to the governor. We want to talk about this a little bit. And why do they make these numbers so hard to find here? Ridiculous. All right, here we are. Here we got the numbers in Texas. So here in Texas, once again, we're only going to count the legal population of Texas of around 30 million. We're not going to count the estimated 12 million illegal aliens that live here. We're just going to count the 30 million legal residents of Texas. So we got 15,492 cases. We'll call it 500. 15,500 cases divided by the legal number of Texans here, not counting the 12 million illegal aliens that live here in Texas. Because if I count them, this number's infinitesimally small. All right, here in Texas, 0.0005% of Texans have been diagnosed or misdiagnosed with the virus. And I don't want to discount the financial incentive because they get, I believe it's $19,000 from the feds for every case they diagnose, and they get an additional $39,000 for every person that actually has to go on a ventilator from the feds. So the financial incentive to connect anything they find to the Chinese-originated virus, the Wuhan virus, the Get Trump virus, the financial incentive is huge. So far here in Texas, 0.0005% of Texans. That is tens, hundreds, thousands. Yeah, 100,000th of 1%. 500,000ths of 1% of Texans have been diagnosed or misdiagnosed with this virus since this thing began. And how many Texans have died? Let's get a percentage on that. So far, 364 people have died in Texas, divided by the population of 30 million, not counting the 12 million illegal aliens that live here. So 0.00001. 0.00001. Tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. 1/100,000th of 1% of Texans have died from this virus. That's why we had to shut down the entire state, because 1/100,000th of 1% of Texans had died of this virus. You can see it's obviously very concerning, very serious. Look, I know that more people drown in bathtubs, okay? I'm aware of that. I know that more people fall off their bikes and die. I'm aware that more people die in traffic accidents. I'm aware that more people die of injectable lead poisoning in Chicago and Baltimore every weekend than have died from this virus, just about. I'm just telling you how it is. The whole thing is stupid. So tomorrow, we are going to be at the governor's mansion, 1010 Colorado. We're going to start our rally officially at noon. I would like to see you there start coming in about 11 o'clock, get ready. We'll have some speeches. I want you to bring your signs. Make your signs before you come. And open carry is welcome. I'm inviting all of my friends with Open Carry Texas. I'm inviting all of my friends with This is Texas Freedom Force. I'm inviting all of my friends with any of the other constitutional groups here in Texas. I'm inviting all of you guys. I want all of you there tomorrow. And we just want to go up there, bring your Texas flags. We just want to go up there and tell the governor that it's about darn time to reopen Texas. Let's open up Texas for business. We've already hurt enough people, okay? We have. We have hurt enough people. And I want to fix the problem now. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to get up there and demand that Texas be reopened, because I just gave you the percentages. They're stupid low. We've got hospitals right now in Texas that are laying off staff, sending them home because they don't need them. Why? Because there are no surgeries taking place that are not medically essential. Now, even the doctors are aching because the doctors count on that money and they're not getting it. And there's just not enough corona patients out there to keep these hospitals running and open. It's time to reopen Texas. And my band, I've got a band, my musicians, a couple of my musicians depend on their financial income from playing music. That's the only job they have. And they're not getting paid. They are not getting paid. So we've got to do something about this. We've got to put people back to work. Now, I happen to be in the telecommunications industry. When I'm not here talking on the microphone, I'm out putting up antennas and restoring comms in other ways. I'm setting up Wi-Fi networks and audio-video systems so people can watch YouTube and get this show, and so people can stay up on the phony news coverage. Like every day, they spend 2 hours on channel NBC and tell you about how horrible this virus is. I don't know. I am fed up. And I'm hoping you guys are as fed up as I am. So that's why I'm hoping that you are going to join me tomorrow in Austin at high noon. And we're going to have a great rally up there. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you. Katie Bugg's going to be there. A number of my other friends are going to be there, and I'm just counting on all of you to join me up there at that rally tomorrow. There's going to be another rally on Saturday in Austin. You can come to that one. That was being run by Corey. You guys watch the Corey X videos, that guy. So, on other news, the owner of the historic Gage Hotel and Marathon is challenging the constitutionality of Brewster County judges' emergency orders that unnecessarily hurt small businesses and prevent free travel. With officials across Texas ordering a patchwork of draconian emergency orders with the intent of slowing the spread of the coronavirus, one hotel owner is pushing back against those orders. The Gage Hotel in Marathon, Texas, sits at the gateway of the Big Bend, 30 miles from the city of Alpine in Brewster County. It's an iconic oasis that serves as a much appreciated stopping point for travelers. And anyway, the restrictions now put over by County Judge Eleazar Cano, C-A-N-O, Eleazar Cano, the county judge in Brewster County, exceed the restrictions put in place by Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott's a Democrat. Changed my mind. The restrictions include ordering the closure of all hotels and motels, short-term rentals, and forcing the hospitality industry to kick out any guests they have and shut down. It also bans non-essential travel into the county, and they'll have their county sheriffs up there, I guess, enforcing that, saying, you got to ask everybody what the hell they're doing. And if you don't like what they're doing, you need to either kick them out or cuff them and put them in jail. Oh, yeah. So, I don't know, guys. I find this completely unacceptable. So, hotel owner J.P. Bryan is pushing back, first filing a suit in state district court seeking a temporary restraining order against the county orders. So far, the judge has denied the temporary restraining order. So soon thereafter, Bryan withdrew from state court and filed a new lawsuit in federal court challenging the constitutionality of County Judge Eleazar Cano's order. The The federal suit filed in the Western District of Texas argues there is no evidence of the COVID virus anywhere out there, no place in the county. And so emergency personnel are allowed to come into the county and stay at the hotel on an emergency order, and they're not a threat. And Brian also alleged the county acted without receiving any expert advice. Well, I think it's kind of important that you understand an expert is a has-been. He's an X, and a spurt is simply a drip under pressure. So if you've got a guy that used to be a drip under pressure, and now he's not anymore, he's an expert, and the idea that an expert is anyone from out of town, because trust me, I've been an expert before. I know how that works. This is insane. This is why it's so important to interview these candidates. This is why I interview candidates all the time. And a lot of candidates are reluctant to come on this show because they know I'm going to ask hard questions. And one of the questions I'm going to ask them is their fealty to the Constitution. Do you even know what's in the Constitution? Most people don't. Most people don't know the difference between the 16th Amendment and the 14th Amendment. Most people don't even know what the Fifth Amendment is. I have interviewed Ted Heap, our constable, right here in Precinct 4. No, excuse me, Precinct 5. I asked Ted Heap point blank at a conference. I said, well, how do you feel about the Fourth Amendment? And he didn't know what the Fourth Amendment was. Here's a guy that's been in law enforcement for 20 years. Didn't know what the Fourth Amendment was. We have to hire constitutional people to put them in these offices. If they don't understand the Constitution, how in the world are we ever going to allow them to become our representatives, our rulers, if you will? So I'm looking here at a picture of our mayor and our county judge, Lena Hidalgo. Now, you got to understand our mayor is a crook here in Houston. That would be Sylvester the Thundercat Turner, a Peter Puffing Fudge Packing Butt Pal. And, he was married to a woman at one point in time, but he finally had to reveal his true nature. And he's standing there with Lena Hidalgo. Lena Hidalgo, a woman who was born in South America, raised in Mexico, came to the United States, got her college degrees here, and then went to work in Southeast Asia as a Communist Party organizer and came back at the ripe old age of 27 to become the county judge of a huge city, a huge county, the fourth largest county in the United States with a multi-billion-dollar budget. Here's a woman that's never managed a Starbucks, and now she's managing a multi-billion-dollar budget, of course, under the tutelage of Rodney Africanart Ellis. Just makes me sick. But at a press conference on Monday, Greg Abbott again refused to announce any plan for the Texas workforce to return to work and for businesses to reopen their doors. Instead, he announced he's getting into partnership with Goldman Sachs to streamline the process to loan money to beleaguered businesses. So, former Republican State Rep Matt Rinaldi points out that businesses need customers and revenue, not debt. Rolando Garcia, a grassroots activist in Houston, agreed. He said, let's be honest, this isn't even a gesture. It's a Wall Street publicity stunt. Texas needs leadership to end this suicidal shutdown, but all we get is a useless press announcement. Joel Starnes from North Texas had similar thoughts. He said, well, that was a big nothing from Governor Abbott. No plan to get us out of this mess. Just a bunch of bragging about how much unemployment we have paid out. Well, it's time to get the government out of the way. We don't need an unemployment check. We need work. Less talk and more action, Governor. I should play that, huh? A little less talk and a lot more action. Sadly, the action leadership plan Texans are looking for has yet to materialize, which is why we're going to be in front of the governor's mansion tomorrow at noon on a Thursday, April the 16th at noon. Thursday, April the 16th at noon. So if you're hearing this on the morning of Thursday, April the 16th at noon on Raging Elephants Radio, you've still got time to hop in your jalopy and head for Austin. Get on up there and join us at 1010 Colorado Street. Bring your flags. Bring your, it's probably a good idea to attach your flag to your AR-15. That way we don't have to worry about the flagpole ordinance there in Austin. Anyway, Texas voters rejected the communist Democrat governance at the state level now for more than 20 years. But unfortunately, that simply made room for the Democrats that are calling themselves Republicans. Greg Abbott is a Democrat, changed my mind. For example, the city of Houston is led by former Democrat legislator Sylvester Turner, a guy who was involved in a scheme where his homosexual lover faked his death in the Gulf so that Sylvester Turner could collect $1 million in cash. Didn't work. The homo lover turned up in Spain selling heroin, so he didn't get the money. But Sylvester Turner was a willing participant in that. Dallas, led by Democrat legislator Eric Johnson, not the guitar player, but a lefty communist. San Antonio, led by Ron Nirenberg, who isn't officially a Democrat, but he's been endorsed by the Texas Democrat Party. He's been endorsed by the Communist Party USA. And, of course, he is the spirit of the Antichrist. And he's the guy that banned Chick-fil-A from opening in the San Antonio airport. And I don't know why, because Chick-fil-A now supports homosexuality completely. So, no reason to ban Chick-fil-A anymore, right? Because they don't have a Christian affiliation anymore. Anyway, even if these cities are technically run by politicians who label themselves Republicans, they're usually enacting Democrat policies. Fort Worth is raising taxes, and Betsy Price up there is mandating that they hire sexually confused people and put them in charge of people who actually have sound minds. Texas counties are no better. The most populous counties are led largely by Democommies and Democrats, or Republicans that are actually Democrats. Greg Abbott. Like Dallas County, you got Judge Clay Jenkins. The guy ought to be in an asylum, in my opinion. The guy is nuts. And then right here, well, of course, our own Lena Hidalgo. She kind of reminds me of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, except for she's not quite as pretty, and she's definitely not as smart. And then you got Tarrant County's Republican County Judge Glenn Whitley, a complete waste of space and time. This is why we need to have, if you know anybody that's running for office, you need to have them come on this show. You just send them a message on Facebook or call them if you got their number, or if you run into them face-to-face, said, hey, have you been on the right side of the mic with Doc Green yet? I'd like to hear that interview. So, because we have more precinct chairs that listen to this show than any other show in Texas. Anyway, even in small towns and cities, local officials are just rubber stamps for whatever the Texas Association of Counties or the Texas Municipal League or some other bureaucrat expert group recommends they do. This is one of the problems that we have, because I'm sick and tired of all these people that are living on the taxpayer's dole, and then they go up and lobby against you, the taxpayer, to steal still more of your money. Abbott knows this. He knows they've fought tooth and nail against pro-taxpayer priorities, like the property tax relief, and reining in the excesses of municipal and county power. And now he's kowtowing to them, choosing to enable them, to allow them to micromanage Texans' lives instead of standing up for the taxpayers' causes. Once again, if Greg Abbott was pro-life, we would have already banned abortion in Texas. If Greg Abbott was pro-lower taxes, we would have already gotten rid of all 61 taxes that we pay here in Texas and replaced it with a single sales tax, because that allows all of the illegal aliens to pay the same tax that you pay. If Greg Abbott was really talking about protecting Texans from illegal aliens, we'd have already had that wall built. We would have taken our rainy day fund, not to mention the $12 billion a year that we currently spend on illegal aliens. We would have built that whole wall and it would be done, and then we would have billed the federal government for it. And we'd already be saving $6 billion a year in services to the illegal alien population of Texas, which is about 12 million. So if Greg Abbott was a real Republican, he would have acted on the other action item that we have, the number one action item, and that is to legalize the Second Amendment in Texas. Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, we can't legalize that in Texas. We infringe on our God-given rights everywhere we look. You know, in Luke 22:36, the Lord Jesus Christ said, if you don't have a weapon, if you don't have a gun, sell your garment and buy one. Luke 22:36, look it up. And I would like to legalize that in Texas. Right now, though, we have a bunch of Texans that say, oh, that's just too radical for Texans. You can't trust a Texan with a gun. You certainly can't trust a Texan with a fully automatic weapon. So they infringe on our Second Amendment rights. They charge us money to exercise those rights. They force us to get a background check every time we buy one of those beautiful guns. All of these are infringements upon your rights. And any idiot knows that criminals don't obey the law. Criminals will always have guns, and most of the time they'll have better guns than you do. Because criminals don't have a restriction on getting fully automatic weapons because, well, they're criminals, so they'll get those weapons. You won't, but they will. So even Abbott's Small Business Empowerment Initiative with Goldman Sachs, which is spearheaded in Houston by Democrat Adrian Garcia, a communist from hell, and Republicans on the Harris County Commissioner's Court voting against the proposal. But the governor said he's going to continue to defer to U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and other federal officials as to what we shall do. And I want to thank Gary Cheshire for writing that insightful article. I think it's about time that we stand up against this. So, Thursday, that is tomorrow, April the 16th at noon, high noon, going to be a showdown at the governor's mansion, 1010 Colorado Street in Austin. Put your camelbacks on so that you got plenty of water. You can stay hydrated, bring your flags, attach your flag to your AR-15, and let's show up there and let the governor know what we really think. And on that note, going to hit this break, and we'll be right back on Right Side of the Mic.
Join us in the chat on YouTube and Facebook.
Hey, Barry the Music Man here for Tejas Smoke Depot. They have everything you need when it comes to smoke. Check out the 150 square foot walk-in humidor filled with a huge selection of fine cigars. Or give them a call at 830-990-1472 and order up what you want. Maybe you like to roll your own. They have it. Maybe you need a gift for a smoker in the family. How about a new pipe? They have a large selection, even a cross-section of great beers in stock. In a hurry, come by and use the drive-thru. Located at 1639 West Highway 290 in Fredericksburg, Texas. Out of town? Visit them at the website, TejasSmokeDepot.com, or call 830-990-1472. That's 830-990-1472. It's smoking.
Doc says all the best words start with P. Prudence is a good word. Airlines will always say, put your own mask on first, then help your loved ones. Prudence means making sure that your family food supply is secure. Most stores have at best a 72-hour supply of food, and if something goes wrong, supply will not happen quickly. You should have at least a 90-day supply of your favorites because it will allow you to weather the worst crisis and make plans for the future. The answer is newmanna.com. Newmanna. New Manna is not just food storage, but really tasty food that you will enjoy eating. New Manna food is designed to last for 25 years, but many people enjoy it several times a week. Now is the time to lay in a supply of tasty New Manna food for your family. Be prepared and know your family is safe. Go to newmanna.com right now for fast delivery. That's newmanna.com.
Joe Biden promised Ukraine $1 billion if they fired the prosecutor investigating his son's company.
If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
But when President Trump asks Ukraine to investigate corruption, the Democrats want to impeach him, and their media lapdogs fall in line. They lost the election. Now they want to steal this one. Don't let them.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Hartman, the power of proven results.
One of the premier property management companies in Texas, providing below market rates with above market amenities and service. Hartman has owned and operated commercial office properties since 1983, offering premium office space at an affordable price by saving businesses a significant amount of money by keeping taxes, utilities, and maintenance low. With over 30 years in commercial leasing in Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas, we have learned exactly what our customers require.
Hartman, the power of proven results.
Managed on Christian principles with a strong dedication to community benevolence. Whether you need 1,000 or 10,000 square foot of office space, Hartman has that space in one of nearly 50 Texas locations.
Hartman, the power of proven results.
Energy efficient buildings, customer friendly experts, supporters of conservative causes. A Texas owned and operated business for 30 years. A proud corporate sponsor of RagingElephantRadio.com.
Hartman, the power of proven results.
Visit Hartman online, hi-reit.com. Call 800-880-2212 or click the ad on RagingElephantRadio.com.
I'm Joe Dana. As your candidate for Harris County Sheriff, I bring 25 years experience in law enforcement. As a conservative, I am committed to lead and manage the office with integrity, transparency, and accountability. I will preserve and protect the Constitution and the laws of Texas. It's time to restore trust in the Sheriff's Office. Please follow our campaign at danaforsheriff.com. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Like the sounds of cannons on the horizon, please return with me to the AmazingDocGreene Show, because I like things that go kaboom.
Oh, yeah. Well, Kentucky Christians who attended drive-in services on Easter, despite the fact that they were ordered by their governor to stay the hell home, they were met by the cops. Yeah. Not just the cops. Nails dumped in the road. Democami, Kentucky, Andy Beshear had announced that the state would enforce a stay-at-home measure by recording the license plates of any person that was caught attending an Easter church service. Americans in other states, such as Nevada, Colorado, California, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, also similarly gathered to observe the Christian holiday through drive-in services. Now, I'm here to tell you that me, yours truly, the doctor, I actually went to two different church services. I went to Church on the Cross for the morning service, and the pastor down there did an excellent job. The sermon was The Great Escape or The Greatest Rescue Ever, and that was Dr. Johnny Teague giving that. And then I went up to the Power of Love Church and had another great service up there. I caught their 10 o'clock service up there. Just a fabulous sermon. And her sermon, female pastor, oh man, she was pretty too. Her sermon was everything that can be shaken will be shaken until only those things that can't be shaken will remain. Absolute proof that you have to believe in something or you'll fall for anything. And for me, that comes down to the Lord Jesus Christ. That is the only foundation. And I am grateful to the Lord Jesus Christ because of the blood that he shed for me. And if he hadn't have done that, I would have no hope at all. Doesn't mean that I don't occasionally fail, but I've got that blood to rely on. Acts 2:38, repent and be baptized, every one of you, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, for the remission of your sins. You shall receive the gift of the Holy Ghost. That is foundational truth. Well, anyway, this time, and there's a whole week of multiple faiths out there, and a lot of them did, but Kentucky state troopers recorded the license plate numbers of all those who attended the Easter service, leaving notices on the windshield of church-going cars warning those people now that they have to quarantine for 14 days or they might be arrested. And they're going to keep an eye on you because they know where you live. We live in the Panopticon. Maryville Baptist Church also received an order from the Bullitt County Health Department ordering the church to immediately cease and desist and to stop the preaching of the gospel. But Reverend Jack Roberts held his Wednesday service anyway because he loves Jesus more than he fears the government. Roberts said he arrived at church Sunday, however, to find that nails had been dumped at all the parking lot entrances. The Kentucky State Police did not respond to questions about where those nails came from, and there was no investigation. Of all the places you ought to keep them from, he said you should have put those down at the liquor store to keep people from getting drunk, going home, and killing somebody. They could have put them down at the baby killing factory. Yeah, they could have gone down there and prevented those people from going in and killing their babies. But no, they want to keep people from going to church. This is the spirit of the Antichrist. So, someone decided it'd be nice if you all came out and found your car tires were flat after church service. So anyway, I don't know about you guys, but I am just fed up with this garbage. This is not acceptable to me. This is not why I live in the United States of America. Thank God, and I do, thank you, Yeshua, the mighty God, the true God, the one God. Hear, O America, the Lord our God. Well, also my friends over there in Britain too, because I do have listeners in Britain. The Lord our God, Yeshua, is one Lord, and Moses is his prophet. And there are no other gods like him, neither are there any beside him. Yeshua is the only wise God. And what we celebrated on Easter was the resurrection of the body of the Christ. This is very important. You see, invisible God in creation. Yeshua, the physical incarnation of the Spirit of the invisible God. And then you have the Holy Ghost, the Spirit of the departed one. One God, three manifestations. When you get to heaven, there's going to be one person on that throne, and that is going to be Yeshua, the mighty God. That's who you're going to see on that throne. And I suspect he will still have the holes in his hands and the holes. So, not to get too preachy on you here, but lawmakers have imposed similar restrictions on other churches. Video footage shows police shutting down Reverend James Hamilton's drive-in service in Greenville, Mississippi at the King James Baptist Church. Said, look, I'm a good citizen. I ain't breaking no laws. I ain't selling no drugs. I'm just preaching the word of Yeshua. And look at all these cops here. Anyway, not acceptable. You recognize what it is. I recognize what it is. The spirit of the Antichrist. That's what it is. I am trying to figure this out. Smithfield Foods, one of the largest contributors to America's meatpacking industry in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. This is a pork processing facility, and they've had an amazing number. Almost 300 employees allegedly tested positive for the Chinese-originated Wuhan virus, the Get Trump virus. That seems like a huge number. So anyway, a statement is shared on the company's website said the plant implemented a temporary closure last week and they are going to halt services indefinitely. CEO Ken Sullivan responded to South Dakota's Governor Kristi Noem and Sioux Falls Mayor Paul Ten Haken asked him to suspend operations for 2 weeks. At the time, 238 of the state's 626 confirmed cases were amongst the employees of that meatpacking plant. Guys, I don't know. This just doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for me. Something odd here. Smithfield is widely recognized as the world's leading pork processor, and its Sioux Falls location is one of the largest meatpacking plants in the United States. The closure of the facility, combined with a growing list of other plants that have shuttered across our industry, is pushing our country close to the edge in terms of the meat supply. All I can tell you is life without bacon, I don't know. I'm not very excited about it. And yes, I know if you're a Jew, I know if you're a Muslim, you can't eat pork. Fortunately, I'm a Christian, and anything that God has sanctified, I will eat. And so we pray over it. And that is the Christian position based upon the New Testament layout. So I got no problems. I look for bacon. I like bacon. I want to eat bacon every chance I get. Here's something that's interesting, though, and I don't even know what to say about this, but I got to tell you about it. A Democrat representative from Georgia, Vernon Jones, a black man, has endorsed Donald Trump. Yes, he is a Democrat state lawmaker from Georgia, but he broke ranks with the party and he's endorsed President Trump for re-election. State Rep Vernon Jones told the Atlanta Urinal and Constitution that he's backing Trump, in part because of the way that the president has handled the economy and criminal justice reforms. He said there are a lot of African Americans out there that clearly see and appreciate what he's doing. This is something that's never been done before. The first black president, that would be Bill Clinton, who got a black girl pregnant and then denied the kid. But he was the first black president because, apparently to be black, you have to have sex with a lot of women. And Bill Clinton said he'd had sex with more than 2,000 before he was 30. And he played saxophone. So the first black president, Bill Clinton, didn't do anything for the black people. The second black president, that would have been Harrison J. Bonnell. He didn't do anything for African Americans. In fact, he made things worse. And then you get Donald Trump, a man who has improved the lot of every American, and that includes black Americans. That's why you're going to see blacks voting for Donald Trump at somewhere between 47 and 50% in this next election. Now, I'm reporting it here because they're not going to report that on NBC. They're not going to report it on CBS, ABC. In the clowns, not news, they're never going to report that. MSDNC, do you think they're going to report that? No. Oh, and by the way, it looks like almost 57% of Hispanics now are going to vote for Donald Trump too. But back to this article. So he said, when you look at unemployment rates among black Americans before this phony coronavirus, they were at historic lows, just a fact. So he has faced the ire of his fellow Democrats for endorsing Trump. Chairwoman of the state's Democrat Party, State Senator Nikema Williams, called Jones an embarrassment because his views don't align with Georgia values. I wonder what Georgia values are then if they don't want to see more black people having jobs. A lot of black folks in Georgia. The Gwinnett County Republican Party shared Jones' endorsement on their Facebook page. So look, once again, I am loving it. I am just loving it. This is good news. Great job. Thank you for doing it. I'm going to get Deborah Anderley on this show sometime in the next week or so because she's got some stuff going on in her county that we're going to talk about. some stuff that has to be talked about. Nancy Pelosi. Multiple sources privy to the Democrat Party caucus say that Nancy Pelosi lamented Donald Trump as the most sinful for his push to reopen the economy. Politico reported Monday that insiders with details of California's Democrat population are frustrated with the way Donald Trump has handled this, in spite of the fact that Gavin Newsom has said Donald Trump has done a marvelous job. So Donald Trump's been very transparent in his desire to get the U.S. economy back on track as soon as possible, because when the economy is doing like it is right now, it's killing people. This is the Barry Soetoro economy that you're experiencing right now. This is what they had planned for you all along. The good news is it's all about to be over. It's about to be over, guys. So just hang in there, because sanity is going to be restored. You can count on that. In Austin, Travis County Judge Sarah Eckhart and Democami Mayor Steve Adler announced that their countywide stay-at-home order has been updated. The new order extends to May the 8th, restricts travel to essential only, bans any gatherings of any number outside a single household, and prohibits non-essential businesses from operating. Now, the stay-at-home order also requires anyone over the age of 10 to wear a mask when going out in public for essential work or activities. The order now says if you go outside, you have to put on a face covering. Well, all right. I guess tomorrow when we're out there meeting, and I'm expecting 100 people at this meeting tomorrow. I guess tomorrow when we're out there meeting in Austin, we'll have to wear face masks. According to the order, the fabric mask does not have to be medical grade, but it has to cover your mouth and nose and be worn in stores and outside and in places where 6 feet of distancing is not possible. It probably won't be able to be possible tomorrow because I'm expecting well over 100 people there at 1010 Colorado Street in Austin, 1010 Colorado Street in Austin. He said there are exceptions if you're outside alone, or if you're traveling alone, or if you're eating or drinking alone, or if you're exercising outdoors alone, then you don't have to do it. But because of their new order, Eckert and Adler have now deemed fabric stores as essential business and have allowed them to reopen. But they talked about penalties for those who do not wear the mask. This order includes a fine of up to $1,000 and the possibility of arrest and imprisonment. There'll certainly be enforcement if we do not see a community-wide embrace of social distancing and appropriate masking, says Eckert. If we see any egregious violations that are threatening community health, we'll certainly enforce that. Under what authority? Where in the Constitution do you find that authority, Mayor Adelader? Mayor Adelpated? You follower of the 5th century prophet that failed? Anyway, he said if you see any violations in the community, I need you to call 311 and rat them out. It is my hope that we'll get a lot of people ratting other people out. So do it now. The Get Trump virus has very real consequences if you fail to adapt, Eckert added. There are real health consequences, economic consequences to our inability to restart the engine of commerce. And if we don't change and become more like a communist nation, then we will punish you. We will send men with guns to put you in jail. Well, I expect the fact that I've read that to you now is going to scare a lot of you away. I think maybe a lot of you won't come tomorrow because I've shared that story with you. I, on the other hand, am going to be there. I don't care. You can bring men with guns if you want, but guess what? I have a gun too. I'm reminded of that movie Aladdin. And the monkey's got the sword and he stole something, saw soldiers chasing him. And one of the soldiers said, "Oh my, he's got a sword." And then the captain of the guard looks at him and says, "What the hell?" I said, "We've all got swords." "Oh yeah, that's right." So, okay. Brandon said the Texas Historical Commission meeting has been rescheduled to May 24th. So there we have that. And Carol, thank you, Carol. She's up near Dallas. And Tori Lynn, nice to see you in there, Tori Lynn. And of course, Brent McCain, I don't know if you heard it. I did put up your report and played some of that video that you put up. If you missed that. So tomorrow, we're going to be in Austin at high noon. I'd encourage you to wear your mask. And there are some great masks you can get out there. I have ordered a special one for the Alamo rally on April the 25th, Friday, April the 25th at the Alamo at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you're hearing this on a replay, and if it's Saturday, April 25th, then you need to hop on your pony and ride and make it to the Alamo and be there by 3 o'clock. Because we're going to have a little fun there. Meanwhile, Gretchen Whitmer up in Michigan has decided to extend her order. So, they're still trying to keep everything shut down. But ladies and gentlemen, I ain't doing it. And I'm going to be in Austin tomorrow, and I'm counting on all of you guys to be in Austin tomorrow. And Travis County, they've got 774 reported cases of the COVID Chinese-originated Get Trump virus. So I'm just asking all of you guys to do your part. Do not put up with this. Do not fail to exercise your constitutional rights. On that note, guys, God willing, see you here tomorrow. Same doc time, same doc channel.
Join us in the chat on YouTube and Facebook.